says it is strongly opposed to all forms of censorship for musicians. In international news, police in Harare arrest several top officials of Zimbabwe's main opposition party after they attempted to enter its headquarters, being occupied by members of a splinter faction. And in sport, Premier League stadiums to be divided into 3 zones when the season restarts as clubs work towards agreeing match day protocols. These are headlines and many more stories. Stay tuned.
Joy FM News. Truth in defense of freedom. Joy FM News with Christine Kabas.
Good afternoon and thank you so much for joining us for our main news. Here's the news in detail. The Zambia Institute of Independent Media Alliance, ZIMA, says it has received with shock allegations by the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit National Coordinator, Chanda Kabwe, stating that some radio stations in the southern province are airing messages of telling people that there is no coronavirus in the country. ZIMA President, Jaja Kulibali, has charged that this allegation is not only tribal and malicious, but an assault to the operating space of the media. Mr. Kulibali adds that such allegations come at a time when the country is engulfed with the COVID-19 related challenges, a situation that calls for unity of purpose. Mr. Kulibali has therefore challenged Mr. Kabwe to provide evidence through naming those stations in that bad habit or apologize for the falsehoods leveled against the media in the southern province.
And as ZIMA, we conducted thorough investigations, and so far no radio station or indeed any form of media house is fitting into Mr. Kabwe's allegations, which we hereby find to be imaginary hallucinations. We therefore wish to challenge Mr. Kabwe to provide evidence through naming those stations in that bad habit, or apologize for the falsehoods leveled against the media in Southern Province. We also wish to state that failure to apologize or retract his falsehoods will compel us as ZIMA to report him to police for alarming the nation, and it is our hope that police will deal with this matter professionally. ZIMA is also aware that radio stations in Southern Province have been airing messages of on the COVID-19 in both Tonga and English. Some have gone as far as giving out free hand sanitizers to their listeners. What else does Mr. Chanda Kabwe want?
The Zambia National Education Coalition, ZANEC, has hailed the decision by the Minister of Higher Education to open universities and colleges for graduating students who will be writing their examinations this year. ZANEC, however, argues that universities should have also been given ample time to prepare for the reopening because there is only 2 days before June 8, 2020. ZANEC Executive Director George Hamusunga says this means that a lot of preparatory work and investment is required by the various universities to put the necessary prevention measures to mitigate against the likely health risks of running lectures during the COVID-19 period.
In our view, universities should have also been given ample time to prepare for the reopening because there is only 2 days before 8th June 2020. This is due to the fact that universities will be required to enforce the public health guidelines and meet certification guidelines as rightly guided by the President. This means that a lot of preparatory work and investment is required by the various universities to put the necessary prevention measures to mitigate against the likely health risks of running lectures during the COVID-19 period. We also agree with the Minister that e-learning should continue for non-graduating students who will not be writing final examinations because education is the backbone of any given society. However, ZANEC is aware that access to e-learning platforms remains limited to students that are residing in urban areas. Therefore, majority of the students in rural areas and those from vulnerable households are left out due to lack of internet and finances to procure bundles. Therefore, it is important that universities provide a mix of no-tech and low-tech solutions for sustaining learning during COVID-19. ZANEC takes the opportunity to applaud the mobile service providers that are providing internet services for free to students for the purposes of continued learning during the COVID-19.
The Zambia Association of Musicians, ZAM, says it is strongly opposed to all forms of censorship for musicians. The association says it believes musicians must be allowed to fully express their views through music or otherwise, so as to fully express the feelings, emotions, and cultures of the environment in which they live in. Zambia Association of Musicians National Chairperson Tivo Shikapwasha says this in reaction to several queries from both the media and general public about Mr. Brian Bwembia, popularly known as B-Flow, who expressed views in a posted video on social media in which he expressed his views on a number of national issues affecting the general citizenry. This prompted Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo to demand for an apology from B-Flow for issuing criticism against President Edgar Lungu and government. Mr. Lusambo also said the abuse of social media by youths in Lusaka to insult the leadership of the country must come to an end as it amounted to lawlessness. But Mr. Shikapwasha says the Zambia Association of Musicians has observed that Mr. Bwembia was merely expressing his opinion and in doing so exercising his constitutional right to freedom of speech. Mr. Shikapwasha has however encouraged all ZAM members and associate musicians to exercise responsibility while carrying out their duties. He also notes that it is prudent for dialogue to ensue so as to advance the discussion in a fruitful direction and to establish a firm understanding of the issues being addressed by the artists expressing their views. President Edgar Lungu says the road network in Rufunsa district has not been worked on because area member of parliament Cheryl Mliata has not presented the case to government. President Lungu says the UPND lawmaker has not approached the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure Development to request that the road network in the area be worked on. President Lungu has however said that it is important for opposition MPs to work closely with government in order to improve the welfare of the Zambian people. Speaking when he visited St. Luke's College of Nursing and Midwifery in Rufunsa district in Lusaka Province, where he interacted with village headmen and headwomen from Shikabeta, Bunda and Impasha chiefdoms, the president directed Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Vincent Mwale to quickly find ways of improving the road network. He also urged the people of Rufunsa to work closely with the district commissioner and present their cases before her in order for the government to respond on time. And President Lungu expressed disappointment that the UPND Rufunsa MP, Cheryl Mliata, has not approached the government on the construction of communication towers. He said it is disappointing that the MP has been silent on many challenges facing the area, hoping to see the PF failing and losing elections next year. President Lungu, however, said the MP will be shocked because the Patriotic Front is retaining power in the 2021 general elections. But in an interview with Joy FM Radio today, Rufunsa MP Cheryl Mliata has attributed the underdevelopment in her constituency to a failed leadership in the PF, which has failed to release funds for developmental projects. Ms. Mliata has charged that this is because there is a bias towards opposition-held constituencies.
The 17 million Zambians in Zambia, our country, they all need development. Do you hear me? Therefore, they are entitled. It is their right. Someone cannot come and say it's because of the MP. It's the kind of leadership that we have. You look at the constituencies where we have the PF MPs. Most of them are having the super hand of getting development in their places. Why? There is biasness towards those who are in opposition. The CDF, you read the papers. It has not been coming. Even right now, the CDF is not there, which you can help us to another extent, but you have seen what is happening. I am always there with the people. Let's talk about agriculture. You as Zambians, you know how this government has lamentably failed. Even to deliver fertilizers on time, they fail. Is that we have no medicines in our health services in the rural areas. No medicines. Is that the MP? The people are still drinking very dirty water. The Zambian who has got the right to drink clean water. The MP presents the case to say we want clean water, but dirty water. A Zambian who has got the right to development. It is the leadership crisis, which is very corrupt. It's failing to do its duties, and therefore putting the blame on the opposition leadership, which is not right.
A private research and capacity building institute specialized in public financial management called Public Financial Management says the May 2020 budget performance has indicated that government is spending substantially more resources on debt servicing as opposed to helping the vulnerable thrive during COVID-19. The research institute says, furthermore, since the public wage bill accounted for 33.9% of the funds, Zambian public service workers may well have earned twice as much if debt servicing was controlled. Public Financial Management senior economist Bright Chizonde says debt servicing and reduced revenue collection should not make it impossible for government to protect the vulnerable during the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Chizonde states that Zambia should therefore urgently restructure its public debt in order to free up more resources for social spending. He has further urged the Minister of Finance to safeguard social spending as it reevaluated its expenditure allocations and disbursements.
The May 2020 budget performance has indicated that government continues to spend a substantial amount of funds on debt servicing as opposed to helping the vulnerable thrive during COVID-19. In May, out of the total 6.73 billion kwacha released, only about 9% was for social benefits, while 42.5% went towards debt servicing and arrears. Since the public wage bill accounted for 33.9% of the funds, Zambian public workers may well have earned twice as much if debt servicing was controlled.
Let's take it to that. Take it to that. Let's take it to that. Take it to the man. Let's take it to that. Take it to that. Let's take it to that. Take it to the man. Let's take it to that. Take it to that. Let's take it to that. Take it to the man. Let's take it to that. Take it to that. Let's take it to that. Take it to the max. Yeah, baby. Apple Max. Cool, real, and natural. A quality product from Californian Beverages.
Imbira nsoma ku balimi bonse mwebava mu kitundu kya Lubemba ate mu Northern Province akampani ka Pioneer kaneetirako imbuto y'amataba ipya eyitibwa P3812W. Iyi mbuto ilapapa bamakombo bamataba yalikosa ku kilala nakumpese yaliba iyabeeka kabiri nangula inflata ilokile okufikapo yena ilamena n'okukula. Ifo ba Pioneer Seed Company tuwasumina okutila ti inflata ewaffe nakalya lelo kyaba n'embuto mwabika mushiri ekyo byale n'embuto ya Pioneer P3812W pakutila mwinga kamupulwa kabiri n'okumuleetera obukumu buntu mu kabila. Imbuto y'amataba iya Pioneer P3812W ilesangwa mu ntende shonse omukishi wa imbuto era n'omumatepo byale n'imbuto ya Pioneer n'okumona obukumu.
What? The only seed for your bumper harvest. Quality seed. Sustainable seed. Seed for the bumper harvest.
And now, international news.
Police in Harare have arrested several top officials of Zimbabwe's main opposition party after they attempted to enter its headquarters, which is being occupied by the members of a splinter faction. The Movement for Democratic Change, MDC, has been divided since the Supreme Court ruled on March 30th that Nelson Chamisa was not its legitimate leader and installed Thokozani Kupe, head of one faction of the party, to lead it in the interim. Most MDC members still regard Chamisa as their leader and accuse President Emerson Mnangagwa's government of siding with Kupe's faction in the battle for control of the movement. Supporters of Kupe seized control of the party's offices at Harvest House in central Harare late on Thursday, while police watched. A video of the incident circulated by the MDC showed. Anti-riot police on Friday, however, cordoned off the building, which has stood as a symbol of the MDC's fight against Mnangagwa's ruling ZANU-PF party for the past 20 years. Some MDC officials, led by party vice president Tendai Biti, then tried to enter Harvest House. French forces have killed the leader of Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, Algerian Abdelmak Droudbeg, in northern Mali, France defense minister said. Droudbeg was killed on Thursday near the Algerian border, where the group has bases from which it has carried out attacks and abductions of Westerners in the sub-Saharan Sahel zone. Defense Minister Florence Parly said on Friday. Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb emerged from a group started in the late 1990s by radical Algerian Islamists who in 2007 pledged allegiance to Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda network. The group has claimed responsibility for a string of attacks on troops and civilians across the Sahel, including a 2016 attack on an upmarket hotel and restaurant in Burkina Faso, which killed 30 people, mainly Westerners.
Joy FM Sports News.
Premier League stadiums will be divided into 3 zones when the season restarts as clubs work towards agreeing match day protocols. The 2019-2020 campaign will resume on June 17th after more than 3 months away due to the coronavirus pandemic, and safety will be the #1 priority. Clubs met on Thursday to discuss some of the logistics, and West Ham Vice Chairman Karen Brady has revealed how stadiums will be split into red, amber and green zones. Red zone will be the most severely restricted area, including the pitch, the tunnel, technical areas. Changing rooms will be limited to 105 people maximum, to include players, coaching staff, match officials and all the essential staff only. The league's rule that clubs must pick their strongest available team remains its place, while players must not spit, share drinks or shake hands. Brady also revealed that lower tier rows of seating in each of the 20 stadiums will be covered by clubs and fan representation. TV viewers will experience 330-degree replays and have pre-match tunnel access, and all shirts will feature the NHS logo on the front. We end our news on that sports item, but before we go, let's take a quick reminder of the headlines. The Zambia Institute of Independent Media Alliance, ZIMA, says it is shocked by the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit's National Coordinator, Chanda Kabwe's allegations on the media in Southern Province. And the Zambia Association of Musicians says it is strongly opposed to all forms of censorship for its members. In international news, police in Harare have arrested several top officials of Zimbabwe's main opposition party after they attempted to enter its headquarters, being occupied by members of a splinter faction. And finally, as we end in sport, Premier League stadiums will be divided into 3 zones when the season restarts as clubs work towards agreeing match day protocols. Well, that ends our main news at 13 with me, Christine Misalo. But of course, don't forget to join us for the next bulletin of our news at 17 hours. Thank you so much for your time. Good afternoon.
Joy FM, with authentic, authoritative, comprehensive, in-depth business, international and local sports news, was brought to you by
Pioneer Seed Company.
Nkani yabu inokwali mi. Kampani ya mbeo za Pioneer la kubweletana mbeo za P3506W, P2809W ndi mbeo zimenezi mukutumikiziridwa kolola zambiri ndiponso kupeza phindu la ndalama zanu. Mbeuzi zichita bwino ngakhale kuli chilala. Zili ndi chimanga chikulu ndiponso chikuzidwa ndi matenda ochititsa matsamba kukhala chikasu. Iso Pioneer Seed Company tikuvomereza kuti sinkhani ya nyengo, koma mbeu zomwe mubyala. Choncho byalani mbeu ya Pioneer kuti mukolola zambiri.